Hello, Margaret here from Botany Bay Imports. Today we will be doing another session in Groomapedia talk. We have Sherryn Smith from GoTafe joining us today. Hi Sherryn.
Hey Mark, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Oh, really well, thank you. A little bit cold down here in Ballarat, but really well.
Oh, that's good to hear. I was just wondering if you can give us a bit of a background on yourself.
Absolutely. So I think I started off mainly years and years ago with an equine background. I grew up with horses. I was lucky enough to have a family that supported us and me and my three sisters there. And then I went into a PA role, like an office-based role, even though I knew that the passion that I had was for animals. Then I met my husband, and then we started to work out what we were going to do when we had children. And I knew I wanted to work. I think if you work with what you're passionate about, it's easy. And I knew that that was going to be dogs and animals. And so that's when we started up our own grooming business. From grooming, I went to vet nursing, and as a lot of girls do. And then I went back to grooming, and then GoTafe approached me in 2009. So I've been here ever since.
That's good. So
yeah, it's a busy road.
Yeah. So do you just want to sort of explain what you do at GoTafe there?
So GoTafe, I started with GoTafe when I was vet nursing, actually. That's where I was doing my training. And then when I finished that and I went back, I was actually teaching at a corporate grooming. They approached me to come on board. So I started off before the grooming qualifications came into force about 5 or 6 years ago. I started off training the vet nurses there and the companion animal students. So we got Cert 1 and Cert 2 students. And then the grooming qualification came on board, and that's when I live in Ballarat, but we have a Werribee campus, and that's where we started the grooming qualifications down there, and that became my baby. So that's where we operate out of down there. We have a small class, and that's how I started, and that's what I do now. So I still help the girls with the vet nursing students or trainees, and I also help with, and I do some assessments and that with the other girls. We've got a great team.
That's where I met you, through the vet nurse side of things. Many years
Absolutely.
ago. Many years ago.
Many years ago. And one of our here at AA, or it was in the next way, wasn't it? That's where we met.
Where at? What? Sorry, you cut out.
Was it at Pet Expo or?
No, it was. I think the vet one.
Was it? Yeah.
You had a stand there. I had a stand.
We did.
Yeah.
We did. We didn't stop talking
all day.
We haven't stopped talking since.
Okay, so why is education important?
Well, it's important with everything, isn't it? I think we're always learning. I think sometimes with the grooming, I think reaffirms, for those that have been grooming, it reaffirms that we're on the right track, and we can always learn new ideas, new methods. And the animal health units that are part of that qualification, they help us to stay up to date and relevant with industry. Now we've got the recognised quals in our profession, which is awesome. We can help those that are starting out, which we didn't have years and years ago, to feel like they've got a few more tools in their toolbox. I think that's really important. And having the respect from peers and industry can only be good for the profession itself. I think that having the education behind us, I know many years ago it was really hard to get people to help us. I think now that they can go and they can feel that when they go in, even though they won't be the groomer they're going to be in 3 years, that they've got a base of knowledge behind them, that they can go and work with a mentor, and that will help them.
Okay, that's good to know. Is there any qualification purely based on grooming units?
No, the qual's not purely grooming. It's heavily practically based on the grooming unit, but the qual gives the student a very rounded education, and that's what we like. It's got first aid in it. It's got OH&S, which is so important. Things like sustainability, and that's keeping not only their workplace sustainable with lights and water, but it might be keeping their business sustainable. So it has a longevity to it. Animal hygiene and infection control. units are within the qual, especially infection control knowledge, especially with what's going on now around us, could save a groomer considerable heartache. And I think them being able to say they are confident that transmission of any disease has been reduced with the processes put in place in their salon has to be a good thing. So the fact that they can say, right, I know that this disinfectant or sterilant, and it's been down for a contact time, everything they implement in the workplace has got to help them know that they're keeping their salon as safe as what they can. And those units are within that qualification. Then there are many grooming units also, and we do those practically, but it's not only grooming units. So it gives them the knowledge that if somebody comes to them with a dog, that they have while we are never ever to diagnose or be a vet, we can say, right, I think you need to see a vet. This is an issue. This could be this, and we can advise them, always advising them to go and see their vet.
Perfect. It's good how education is readily available these days compared to 20 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. So. When I started, it was like I was lucky enough to get onto a wholesaler that was incredibly generous with his knowledge. But some people, and I'm so glad that it's changed now, some people were a little bit apt, in giving you information for fear that you're going to take their customers.
Yeah.
And what we know now is there are so many customers to go around.
Yeah.
And knowledge is power.
That's right. It's good to help everyone.
Absolutely.
If the financial costs are more than the student anticipated, is there any way they can still study?
Yeah, absolutely. Trading providers, a bit like ours at GoTAFE, they offer payment plans.
Yeah.
We can look into government funding for the student, and concession card holders can also access rates that are really reasonable. So if they hold a concession card, if the applicant isn't able to access funding, and that, we offer now what they call an eligibility exemption plan, where if they've achieved a qualification at the level they've got, we can apply for an exemption. While we can't guarantee they will get it, we are an industry that requires employment, or we have a very high need for staff. So our eligibility exemption is often looked at favourably. We can look at enrolling them in units that they can financially afford as they go. So there's so many different options. What I don't want to see, or I hope that we can help them, is that funding something that stops someone from studying or from pursuing a career that they're passionate about. We like to think we can make studying possible for nearly everybody.
Yeah. Do you know how much it costs to do something there?
There's so many different levels. So if you have absolutely no hope of getting funding, or that you don't have access to Medicare cards and all of that, it's what we call fee for service. So that it was usually about $6,000, and then for eligibility it comes down to about half of that, plus your materials fees, and we'll explain what they get with that. Mm-hmm. But then the concession rate cuts it down by about a fifth. So it becomes, when you're looking at it as a profession and that we're helping them step into what they might do for the rest of their life, it can be quite achievable. But we need to talk to people, because not everybody is the same. Okay. Everybody has achieved different things. And everybody has different circumstances in their life. So that's why we'd like to talk to them personally, get a case. What have you done? What do you want to do? Have you got units, the qualifications they may have done, maybe units that come off this qual, they don't have to pay for them again. Yeah. So there's so many different variables. That's why it's good to talk with them one-on-one.
Okay. Can a student study if they have little or no experience in grooming?
Absolutely. So, and I think this is where it is really good compared to years ago, because at least if they come and study, they have a base, whereas years ago people could groom with nothing, and that was fine too. But this is about support and having small class sizes at places like GoTAFE. We can try and coordinate our groups with like-minded and even like-skilled students. We start at the beginning with an introduction to the equipment, animal behaviour, OH&S.
Yeah.
And our aim is to improve groomers' longevity. We all know as groomers that it is not an easy profession. It can be hard. It can be physically demanding on your body. So learning how to protect ourselves and our bodies during the grooming process is something that we like to put a big emphasis on. And things have improved so much now, from tables and even a few cordless clippers helping, being able to keep ourselves safe. If the student comes with experience, we often find they pick up tips along the way that really help how they groom. It may be something that saves them time in the workplace, or even tips on animal health that they can take back to their workplace.
Yeah.
And with the onset of the quals, we've meant that experiences can be shared, and people can get the help nowadays that many years ago was hard to get. And often what I would say what we would say in the classroom, what people like, we have guest speakers like Mel come in, and then what they know themselves. So if they pick up a little bit from me and a little bit from Mel and a little bit from what they feel they can do in the workplace or their mentors, will make them the groomer they are. I think we all have different little quirks.
Yeah.
And that is, so they can absolutely come with little or no experience, and we can make them into the groomer that they're going to be in years to come.
That's good. So who makes up student cohort? Is there any certain demographic that you see more than other?
Yeah. We have so many different, we have all ages.
Yeah.
I think my eldest has been about 65 and he was super and now runs a very successful business.
Wow.
Male and female.
Yeah.
Sea changes.
Yeah.
So we have those that have decided, right, I've brought up my family, I've paid the mortgage, and now I'm going to do what I wanted to do when I was young. But life expected me to do this, or, it was an expectation of me that I'd go here. So that's good to see. School leavers.
Yeah.
But they all pretty much have one thing in common, and that's a love of animals. And I think, as I said, some people go through life and they get to year 11 or year 12, and I experienced it with my own children, and there's an expectation that they go to uni. There's an expectation that they follow that higher ed. That is not for everybody.
Yeah.
I think if we follow what we are passionate about in life, we will stop a lot. I see a lot with anxiety and a lot that have suffered through depression, and I think sometimes we are convinced, or we are talked into going into, the higher professional, the fields that aren't what we really want to do.
Yeah.
And then we fail to follow what we're passionate about. And I'm hoping now that people are starting to see that if you're passionate about something, it makes life easier, which may then help them, with other things in life, relationships and all of that. If they're working in a field that they are passionate about, life is that little bit easier. So that's what I hope these qualifications can do. And that's why I think our demographic is, we have a lot of younger people come on board, and that's a really good thing.
That's good. A lot of young groomers will be joining the force.
Well, they're our future, and I think that's why we've got to grab them and say, right, I'm here to help. Or let's form a network around you that, I'll have them ring on a Sunday and say, I've got this dog to groom. Can you just run me? I'm a little nervous, or tomorrow I've got this dog. And that's what our network is hopefully able to do.
Yeah. What's important to you when training the students?
They realise that everyone's on their own journey. I think that they don't compare themselves to others. The people next to them. We have small class sizes, but it's easy to look at somebody else and go, oh my God, look at her groom. And we all get different dogs on a day. When they start in class, they get a dog in the morning, and that is their dog that they will, on their own, go from start to finish. And sometimes that person next to you might have got a dog with a great coat or a great temperament, and you may have got the thin-haired, naughty little turkey that's giving you a hard time. And I think it's really hard not to compare yourselves. So that's important to me, to make sure they don't compare themselves. that they realise this is their journey, not anybody else's. And some people are fantastic practically, but need help with their theoretical work, which we do in the background. Some are brilliant with their theory, but they're going to take a little longer to develop their practical skills, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
So it's funny, you watch them, and some after 3 months will be in this little bubble and go, oh my God, there's an aha moment. Some take that little bit longer time. Confidence, it's a little bit like horse riding, I'd say. It's so hard to get and so quick to lose. And I try to make sure that everyone realises that every day is another step towards them being the groomer they're meant to be. So even if today was a little bit irky and didn't go the way that they would have liked, or the dog didn't look, quite like they pictured in their head, that's okay. Today's another step in the day of being a groomer. So that's probably what's most important, is that their self-confidence and self-esteem.
Yeah.
We try and build that, because I think that's really important when they're grooming, to know that, hey, this is my journey, not anybody else's, and this will take me as long as it takes me.
Yeah.
And that's why our course is over a little bit longer than a lot of others, because I think they need that period of time to go into the workplace and get a mentor, and then come back to class and go, hey, I'm struggling with feet, or I'm struggling with heads, and we can give them that support, or they can lean on us for a little bit of confidence. So that's what I'd like to think. We try and build their confidence a lot. And giving them those, even though there's things in the qualification, there might be things that aren't in the qualifications, we try and let them know what we've experienced in our lifetime,
so they understand.
So that if there's any of those tricky little things come up, that they can avoid, or there's ways around them.
Yeah. It's important to build confidence and all that type of stuff.
And it might not be confidence. The confidence they build in the classroom might not be just for them in a lifestyle about dogs. It might be in being in a relationship, or being able to assert themselves if someone's not treating them well, or that type of thing. They're the sort of things we try and build.
Yeah. So is any of this training done online? If so, how much time spent online versus class?
Yeah. So at the minute, obviously, we are online, but we are
normally.
I think everything's online other than our practical skills. So our theoretical units we can deliver online. We have some great resources that the students are able to access, or do access, as they're working through their theoretical units. In the normal day of in the grooming school, we would spend the first hour going over, each day would be a different subject or a different part of this unit. But yes, a lot of the theoretical work is delivered online, so that people can do that in around family, work commitments, social commitments, which we don't have many in Victoria at the minute, but they can do that in around. If I said a student could commit to a couple of hours 2 or 3 times a week, they would see themselves accomplish all the units within their study timeframes. So yeah, absolutely, there is the online, but our practical is all done practically in the salon at Werribee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are there any particular books required for students to qualify? Do they need to buy any books, or?
No, they don't need to buy anything. It's part of their fees. We supply them, and it's an amazing reference for Notes from the Grooming Table, the version 2, big burgundy covered book that is supplied.
Yeah.
We give that to all our students on commencement, so that gives them the resources. They don't need to buy anything, and that's a resource we refer to.
Yeah.
We'll often refer them to videos or
other things.
Learning. I know I referred them to one of Mel's teddy bear clips to keep people. It's great to watch, and you can never stop learning. So I think that's good. But the book is Notes from the Grooming Table. We have a library in the classroom that they can look at in lunchtime, and I'm hoping next year to start a bit of a library up for that too.
Oh, perfect. Once they've completed the qualification, what further education can a groomer take part in?
Well, it never stops, does it, this learning thing? I mean, we did offer the certificate for in pet styling. That is now having a revamp with the with government and training.gov are looking at on all of that type of thing. So that will be reevaluated. But learning never stops, and we try to encourage them to go to seminars, watch webinars, go to trade days and trade shows such as Master Groom, which I've had students last year. I think a few of them might have approached you, Maggie, at the last one, and they would just sit for days. They bought the pass and they just sat and they watched. And they came back. And so just watching others. Then some take part in competitions if they enjoy competing, and getting the feedback from judges is another, education. That's another great tool. We've had students compete and their peers from their classroom. We all donned our tops and we all went down and supported them. Workshops are the places where you can gather with like-minded people, network, and get support from other groomers. Yeah, that's good. So while the qualifications are varied, they are absolutely different. Education never stops, I guess, is what we're saying. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for your time today, Sherryn.
No worries. Thanks for having me, Mark, and everybody stay safe. I feel for our groomers down in lockdown at the minute. It's not an easy time, but I'm sure if everybody gets around them, we'll get through this.
You didn't want to say anything else, did you? Was that all? Or?
No, just thank you, and thank you for your support. The fact that, groomers can start off using equipment that is so up to date, so relevant, so and have choices and get to feel different scissors and different blades, and it's through people like you that helping these younger people achieve, not even younger people, there's my demographic, but helping new people achieve and get the support in an industry at this time is so important. So thank you for your support.
Thank you for your time, Sherryn.
No worries, Mark. Speak soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.